Hi guys, and welcome to this week's collective reading. It's Monday again. I was actually just busy yesterday. It wasn't another week of me forgetting the day, so that's a plus. And this week, it's an interesting one, right? Because this reading is incredibly positive, right? The cards we have all indicate success and manifesting your deepest desires. But the main card, Heaven on Earth, has come through as a blockage or a reversal. So in some ways, it's a very positive reading, but in others, it's actually quite hard, as this is requiring a complete change in how you view things, right? Because all of this success down here, it's like you don't even believe it's possible, right? So you don't even consider it. So Heaven on Earth, kind of self-explanatory, but we'll talk about it. This is believing and realizing that this life can be everything that you want it to be. And I know that sounds so grandiose, but really, like, what's stopping you, right? It says at the bottom of the card, or it's the top here, that all are invited. Fifth dimension, new earth, and spirit and matter. So with it saying fifth dimension, I think the thing to remember with dimensions is that this isn't about us being sucked up into a spacecraft and being poofed into a new dimension, right? Because that's not what dimensions are. What it is a perceptional shift, right? 3D is not down here and 5D is up higher. It's all happening in the same sphere, right? So like it's all happening in this same space, but it's just adding a new point of view or a new way to look at things and perceive them. So now instead of just seeing things from like this point and this angle, now there's another, and it completely changes how you're able to interact with the world around you, or how you show up in the world, right? So, for example, right, if we shift from 2D to 3D, that's when the square 2D object becomes 3D, the cube. And we do actually have 4D and 5D and up shapes in geometry. Well, I don't know if shapes is really the right word. We can't even really perceive them, but what we can do is create a projection of it or a shadow that gives us the best example or idea of what these 4D and 5D and 6D shapes. I feel like saying shapes is wrong, because when we think of shapes, we think of what we know of in the 3D, and that's really not right. But these are kind of like concepts that are harder for us to grasp because they're out of our scope of vision, right? In the 3D, we have 3 viewpoints, right? We have north and south, east and west, and up and down, right? Or width, height, and depth when we're measuring, right? Or in math, it becomes X, Y, and Z. I'm an American living in England. That's why I say Z, X, Y, Z. It feels weird when I say Z, but I also say it without thinking. Anyway, with the shift to 5D, new points are introduced, right? That are currently out of our perception, but we also know they exist. So just because we can't see or understand it mathematically, we know that they exist, right? So when you know that there is more around us to work with, and it just requires a perceptual shift, these are like really mind-blowing concepts that help us to realize that we can bring heaven to earth and live our perfect life, right? This is knowing that what we desire is in our reach. So I imagine 4D as expansive and 5D as transcendent. So in 5D, it's considered more fluid, right? Where you can think of what you want and it's there, right? I've had dreams that have felt very fifth dimensional, but obviously who knows, right? Because I assume, or I think that these are fifth dimensional dreams, but in these dreams, the landscape keeps changing based on what I'm thinking and what I need, right? And this is because energy becomes prevalent in 5D, where physicality is what's more prevalent in the 3D. So this is why in the 5D, we believe that things can just morph and change to our will. But this requires this shift in perspective, right? So we are living in the 3D. We know this. There's no arguing it. We also know that 4D, 5D, and beyond exist. And not that they just exist, but let's pretend like this is the earth and we're all living inside the earth. 4D and 5D are not outside of the earth. It's occupying the same space as us. So we could say we live in the 3D, but technically we live in the 4D. Technically we live in the 5D. We're just not able to perceive it. It's pretty crazy to think about, isn't it? So we know there are things that exist outside of our perspective, right? So your challenge, right, to flip this energy or this card here is to maybe research these ideas a bit, right? Bring as much understanding through for yourself that even if you can't imagine it, don't feel bad, because technically we can't. We're just doing our best to create what we can in the 3D that is a projection of what we think these 5D shapes are, right? But bring as much understanding through for yourself that, you know, even if it's that we don't, what am I trying to say? It's like we don't even know what to base it on, but even without that, we can still imagine it to some degree. And with that, it's knowing that even without being able to define it, that you can believe in it, that you can accept that it's real, and know within yourself that these higher dimensions do in fact exist, right? And that is a huge perceptual shift on its own. Being able to believe in something that you're not able to perceive, shifting from, you know, that can't be true, and then shifting it to maybe it exists, but I don't really believe it. And then shifting again to, you know, maybe it exists, but I don't understand it. And then shifting again to like, it exists and I understand it. So you're not saying maybe it exists. Now you're saying it exists, but I don't understand it. And then you can shift it again and say it exists and I'm trying to understand it as best as I can. So it's just moving over to this area where you're going from like not believing in it or not really believing in it, and you're trying to shift your perspective to where you can believe in it. And it's okay if you can't fully understand it. You're trying, you're doing your best, but you can believe in it irregardless, right? And this shift will really help in bringing an understanding or an understanding as to why as beings We are not only capable of manifestation, but that we actually are manifesting the life that we want or think we deserve, the life we need around us, right? And this is not to be harsh, because if you're in a place where you feel like life's hard and it feels like you're just being told that it's all your own fault, when I say that we're creating our own life, right? It's never that black and white. There are so many nuances that play into the life we are currently living, right? Personally, I believe that we set ourselves up with a life plan with generalized obstacles that we want to overcome or learn from, but we also have free will, right? So we can go off plan, or we can really resist the plan, the obstacles. And I do believe in karma to an extent. Well, I believe in karma, but not necessarily with the exact definition as what some people believe. So it's, what I believe is not that it's there as a punishment, but that karma is there as a balancing factor. So if we do something on one end, right, we need to understand the opposite perspective. And that is what gives our spirit the full scope of vision. It's what brings us balance. So it's not punishment, right? But we can really trap ourselves in karmic loops when we consistently resist the lessons that we've set out to learn. I'm getting a bit off topic, sorry. Back to heaven on earth. For this to happen, first we need to understand that 5D does not mean far away, right? It's happening in the same space. It's a perceptual shift, and it's taking up the same space that we're in. Heaven is already all around us. We're just not perceiving it. And when you can really, truly accept that in your heart, that you are already occupying the same space as heaven, it also becomes clearer, right, how you can be occupying the same space or body as God, right? And as above, so below, that God also occupies the same body as you, right? And when all of this starts to make sense, living in service to that becomes easier, right? And living in service puts you in alignment with manifestation. So all the amazing cards that have come out with this, all you need to do is shift your perspective and bring heaven on earth. Easy, right? So we have Field Mouse with success, and it literally says, believe in yourself and dare to dream big. Beautiful. I love it. And you know, wheat is sustenance and provisions, and it's also symbolic of wisdom, prosperity. And this card is all about making the most of what you have, right? The mouse is just small, but it has a place in this world, and you can achieve big things if you believe in yourself. And these cards are coming out. These are like allies that you can work with and tap into to help you in this dimensional shift and how you can perceive things, right? We have Starfish next, and Starfish says, listen to your soul's truth, think less, feel more. And with think less, feel more, right? This is because the starfish, they don't have brains, but they do have intricate systems of nerves. So working with the starfish spirit helps us to tap into our feelings and intuition, right? Leaning into that energetic energy of the 5D more, right? And our intuition is following that first reaction, that first urge, and not doubling back on yourself with overthinking or freezing yourself from action, right? Because it's a much more creative and fluid flow in the 5D, right? And for tarot, we've got the 6 and the 4 of wands. And wands is a very like electric energy. As an element, the wands are fire, but you can imagine like a magic wand, right? Like this little wand. And you can imagine that when you point it at something, that there's like this zap of electric energy that comes out of it. And that energy sparks a fire, right? So wands represent the spiritual flame of light within your soul and the action, the kindling of your fire or your life force brings forth, right? So the wands as a whole brings us through the journey of learning to discipline ourselves and our desires, right? But with discipline, it's not just about learning to hold back. It's equally knowing when and how it's appropriate to move forward and go for what you want, right? So that's like a generalization of the suit of wands. I'm going to put my little electric wand to the side. I love this. This is my Lemurian point. It's beautiful. And it has really, I see this as a very watery energy that's added to it. Or you could even say icy. But love it. Anyway, tangent. Sixes, because we have the Six of Wands. Sixes are stability that comes as, it's like the rest after the changes and the chaos that the fives bring. So the Six of Wands is all about reaching. See, I'm like reaching out to the star, right? It's reaching a goal, but in this really beautiful, stable way. Right? So we're getting to this point where things may have felt messy with the five, but now you're here and you can breathe and enjoy. Right? At this point, things will feel more balanced and even, in harmony. And interestingly enough, it's shown in this image, but 6 is a numerological gateway or a portal between spirit and matter. So that that's our heaven or on earth, right? Or being able to experience a bit of the 5D in the 3D. And that's why we have this heart portal in the center of this card with the sun in it. And it's joining this higher, more etheric plane with the earth below. And sunflowers, if you followed me last summer, don't feel bad if you didn't, because I'm going to explain it anyway. You'll know I had this whole download with sunflowers. But sunflowers, this is about reaching the sun and following the sun, right? The sunflowers, or the flower itself, always faces the sun. So as the sun moves across the sky, the sunflower actually turns to follow it. But I also learned from the sunflowers last year this idea of manifestation and how, this will sound weird, but it's not actually so important. I know this is going to sound crazy. It's not important which specific path we choose. And this is in regards to many of us constantly feeling worried about whether or not we're doing what we're meant to. Like, are you living your life's purpose? And what I was understanding is that we always have like multiple paths opening up before us. And it's not actually about choosing the right path, because either path could be right or wrong. And the important part is that whatever path we choose, so it doesn't matter if you go left or right, forwards, it doesn't matter. What matters is that whatever path you choose, you don't second guess on, right? That's using the starfish spirit and the field mouse spirit together to support yourself, really. So really, when we feel like we're at a crossroads and constantly worrying about, am I making the right decision? It's almost like the decision itself doesn't matter. It's more important how you feel and act within yourself as you move forward, because we really only have the present moment. So feeling good about your decisions, this is what's important. because how you feel about the past or the future, right, is the only way you can experience it in the present. So be positive. Feel good about your choices and put effort and motion in now, right, in the present, to grow what it is you are feeling good and positive about. Right? So it doesn't matter where you are in life. You can always orient yourself towards the sun. You can always choose to face the sun. Right? And at nighttime, when the sun goes down, go to sleep, rest and restore. Reach for the stars in your dreams, right? Then wake back up and find the sun again. Moving on to the 4s. So we're still in this electric, fiery energy of the wands, where you're feeling inspired and creating. Not creative, you're creating in the wands, right? And 4s, this is the 4 of wands. 4s are a consolidation point, right? 4s represent the home, because, you know, most kids, if you ask them to draw a house, they start with a square because it's a strong foundation marked by boundaries. So very, very, very stable energy in the 4. So 6s and 4s are both stable numbers in numerology, right? So as crazy and woo-woo as this reading can seem, it's very stable, because we're grounding these crazy concepts of the 5D into our reality. So I feel like this is really finding a way, right, to make spirituality work for you, right? Real life practices that make spirituality real for you. And this is a celebratory card. That is why we have this beautiful archway or gateway, right? Full of abundance. It's like the bears are pausing at the threshold to enjoy the fruits of their labors. So it's okay at the moment to have a little pause and enjoy life. Just enjoy, because you've worked hard for it, right? So I'm feeling like maybe life is starting to feel like things are getting good again. Like there's a lot of promise on the horizon, and the days are feeling full and good again. And if this is the case, right, harness that abundant energy so you can keep manifesting and bringing heaven on earth, right? You don't have to hold your breath waiting for the bubble to burst. That's why this is upside down, right? That's why this is reversed. You're almost encouraging it, right? The bubble to burst. You're almost encouraging it if that's the case. Remember, in trying to flip this heaven on earth energy here, we need to believe that this is meant for us, really. So taking the time to really accept that any goodness that you have going on around you, you've created and earned, and that you can keep creating more abundance for yourself. But you do really need to lean into it and believe in it. Right? Things that seem concrete and unchangeable around you, that's 3D thinking. Remember that it's all fluid and that you can bend and change things to make them work for you. Right? That's why impossible, you know, we do things that seem impossible all the time. It does happen, right? And that's why, because things aren't solid, they're fluid. They're meant to change, right? What you need to know is what it is that you want, and then you need to be working towards it. And any hesitations only serve to hold you back. So don't do that to yourself. Easy. I know it's not, but that's why we're here, right? To do the work and learn and grow in the process. And that is this week's reading. I hope you are all manifesting the most amazing lives for yourselves and others. And I will speak to you all next week. Bye, guys.